beyond karma and destiny. What is karma? What is destiny? Can we change them? Can we go beyond them? This is exactly what we want to talk about in tonight's virtual public conference organized by the spiritual school of the Golden Rosycross. The Golden Rosycross is a spiritual school, a school that brings the proposal of a thorough transformation of the human being, of the human being's life, through the transformation of his or her consciousness. And the objective of these public conferences, of these virtual public conferences, is exactly to address the fundamental themes of the person that is a seeker of the truth, and has the quest of the truth as the central pillar of his or her life. So welcome to this virtual public conference. And now we'd like to really start by telling you that we'll have a short introduction during which you can already start posting your comments or questions. And our team here will try to organize them and put them together. And on the second part of our conference tonight, we'll try to answer those questions within the obvious limits and our possibilities, okay? So let's start by speaking a little bit about karma. What is karma? You know, every time that someone listens the word karma, normally, there's a negative reaction. There's like a tension in the air, as if, something bad was associated with it. But in essence, karma has nothing bad or even good associated with it. Karma is the name of a universal law, the law of cause and consequence, the law that brings back to us everything that we have started, everything that we have created, all the consequences of all the causes that our consciousness has put in motion in the first place. So, as we said, in essence, karma is a neutral, perfectly neutral affair based on true universal justice law that only brings back to us the consequences of the causes of the actions that we have created. So there is nothing like good karma or bad karma, because this law of cause and consequence is actually the spiral of learning, the law of the spiral of learning that it's utilized by all life waves in the universe. The law of choice, the law of love, of universal love, impartial love. So karma is the universe in motion. And through the wheels of karma, our consciousness can actually learn all the necessary lessons to go through a fundamental transformation. So after, we talked a little bit about karma, let's try to address the second idea of our theme of tonight, destiny. What is the difference between karma and destiny? Is it the same? It's just semantics. In essence, no. Karma, or let's say destiny, is karma with a twist. And the twist is the reaction of our consciousness. In the moment that we realize that our current state of life is based on identification, is based on a super strong ego identified with itself in a state of life that we normally call an egocentric state of life. we realize that our consciousness tends to refuse the consequences of the actions that we have put in motion in the first place. So we refuse the law of karma. And in the moment that we refuse the consequences of the law of karma, we transform this neutral, perfectly balanced law, this universal law, into a personal, vindictive law that we call destiny. And that's where the weight, that's where the burden of this concept of karma and destiny, they come from. They come from our egocentric reaction. They come from the consequences of our identification. And actually, it is our process of identification, our attachment to a point of view that creates this, separatism, that creates this isolation in our state of awareness. In the moment that we identify ourselves with everything that runs through our consciousness, like our thoughts, our feelings, our reactions, and we believe that we are the thoughts, the feelings, and the reactions, what happens to us is that we divide the world. We want a part of it. We want certain results of it, certain consequences. So we don't exactly accept the natural, true consequences of our actions, but we want only a piece of them, only a part of them. And this part of the consequences that we, so badly want is what we call, quote unquote, good. And the other side of these consequences that are also a part of, this broad law of karma, but that we reject because we don't identify ourselves with it, we call them evil. So good and evil actually don't exist outside of ourselves. They are a phenomenon of ego. They are a phenomenon of identification. Certainly, there are, common values for a society to live in harmony and to live in balance. We are not talking about those basic values of life because they are already in the basis of our existence. We are talking about those very specific, those very particular concepts of good and evil that actually split each human individual into two, at least. And that is the root of suffering. Because, all the consequences of our actions, they come as a whole. But we only, symbolically speaking, want half of it. So then our lives become, the scale with good and bad, with good and evil, that perfectly match, that perfectly balance themselves, because the universe is in balance. So that's how the law of karma becomes, the neutral law of karma becomes the vindictive personal law of destiny. And this vindictive law of destiny actually becomes the prison of our own consciousness. And through the prison of our own consciousness, we, live in the world carrying that inner prison, manifesting that inner prison outside of ourselves. And this is what transforms a neutral, absolutely balanced life in our, sometimes, personal hell, where we run from the consequences of everything that we have put in motion ourselves in the first place. So in front of everything we said, can we go beyond this? Can we escape this? Can we break these rules? Can we transform them? Can we bend those rules? Can we circumvent them? Can we do anything that would allow us to transform our lives? And the answer is quite a strange answer, because it is at the same time yes and no. So let us try to address in the first place the no part. Why is it impossible for us to escape those laws and to change those laws? If we try to transform our destiny by changing the external reality, be it in our families, in our jobs, in our community, in the society that we are in, yes, we can do a lot of things. We can, apparently transform many things in the surface. Because what we are doing actually is we are putting in motion new causes that will bring countless new consequences. And these consequences will come back to us, multiply, 1 to 100, 1 to thousands, because we have actually accelerated the wheels of karma, and because of our identification with a certain point of view, with our egocentric point of view, we will actually have accelerated the wheels of destiny themselves. So it is not by forcing an external change in the big world or in the small world that we'll be able to transform anything at that level. So the answer is not there. We also must say that it is impossible to escape destiny or to transform, this set of things if we try to force a path with our own ego. If we try to use our ego and the powers of our ego to bend or to break those rules. Many, supposedly spiritual paths, they suggest that through the acquisition of hidden occult powers, of, a heightened sense of the subtle worlds, or through the manipulation of magic powers, that we can transform our lives and to free up ourselves from the rules that, draw and define our own inner prison. As we have seen in the attempt to transform the external reality, certainly we can change the inner landscape. We can become more perceptive. We can, have a different relationship or access to the subtle world, like the astral world or the etheric world. We can create some effects in ourselves and in other people. We can even think that we can heal other people. And we can do our utmost, our best, to try to have a positive influence and to change our destiny and to change the way that we live through those kind of methods. But what we are actually doing, again, we are strengthening the points of view of our own ego. We are strengthening our inner perception of what we call good and bad, good or evil. And once again, we end up accelerating the wheels of destiny. And, we have talked about the small wheels of destiny, those that run like clockwork inside of ourselves. But there's also the big wheel of destiny, that is the wheel of life and death. And this big will is what defines the bigger prison of our real being, of the real, eternal, universal being that we live within. That is the human original microcosm. This original being is tied to this wheel of life and death, to the wheel of reincarnation, until the moment that a human consciousness can understand the law of destiny, transform the law of destiny once again into the pure, original, and balanced law of karma. And through that transformation, free up its consciousness and its life from that inner prison. So now we will try to come to the yes part of our answer. Is it possible to change? Yes, it is. But not through those paths, the external path of a forced transformation outside of ourselves, or through a forced transformation utilizing our own ego as a basis. There is a different basis. There is a different path, a different possibility that can be pursued. And we'd like to finish this introduction by talking a little bit about this path. This path is actually nothing new. This path is the path that has been pointed out to humanity by all the universal teachings, by all the truth, all the original truth that has manifested itself in all times of history, in different nations, for different civilizations, and, different in the surface through their symbols, their mythologies, etc., but in essence, the same. So, speaking about this essence, this path, this original path, indicates that there is a different basis than ego itself, that should be discovered in the first place. This basis has had countless different names in the past. We've heard about the rosebud, the mustard seed. In the school we speak about a spark of the spirit, the spirit spark atom, or the spirit spark particle, or even in today's terms, singularity. So this core instance does not belong to the structure of our egocentric consciousness. It lies beyond it already. And it is the basis for the transformation. It is also the core conscience center in the microcosm, beyond ego, free of ego. So when this consciousness awakens, it touches, it creates an inner calling, an impulse towards the human consciousness. And the human consciousness that has three main centers: the heart, the head, and the hands, or our true life in the world of action. Those three centers of awareness can be transformed by a process of detachment, a process of disidentification with all the thoughts, the feelings, and the reactions that circulate as, automatic cycles inside of our consciousness. And through this detachment, through this new awareness, through this new consciousness, symbolically speaking, through this new soul, it is actually possible then to transform the entire life. So, through the original center, the original consciousness of the microcosm, transform the consciousness of the human being, of the human soul. And through the transformation of the human soul, a transformation of the entire life, of all the vehicles, all the bodies that we have, the material one and the energetic or subtle ones. This is represented by our mental body, our astral body, our etheric body, and even a transformation of the base orientation of our physical body. And in that moment, the wheel of destiny, the wheel of life and death, the wheel of reincarnation can be overcome. Not for this consciousness, for this new soul, this new human being, to escape karma, but to fulfill karma. And fulfilling karma doesn't mean that we'll continue to be victims of destiny. It's something totally different. Fulfilling karma means actually going through this law, this perpetual balanced law in the universe, to become a change agent for all mankind, for all humanity. But to become a change agent, to become someone that can actually, influence in the lives of others, we must go through an inner revolution. And that revolution is the only basis for change. And that's why we have added this Zen proverb right after the title of tonight's virtual conference. And reading that Zen proverb will finish up this introduction and pass on to your questions. So it says, "Look back and nothing will change. Look ahead and nothing will change. Look at you and everything will change." Well, we hope that this very brief introduction has helped frame our discussion. And now we'd like to pass on to your questions or to your commentaries. Very interesting. So far, we had no questions. So, let me see again. Well, we normally have this Q&A session during 30 minutes. We understand that many of you may be watching this public conference, in different time zones. After we are done, we will record it and post it in our Facebook page and also in our YouTube channels. Maybe. So there's a question here, but maybe since it is already late for some of you, if we anticipate some of the information that we normally give at the end, so that we are free after we are done with the questions and we don't need to speak about them again. So it's important to say that, if you want to follow these public conferences, there are, the virtual public conferences and the face-to-face public conferences. The virtual public conferences, we try to organize them in this format once a month, on Mondays, more or less about this time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They become available right after they are streamed live in our Facebook page and also in our YouTube channel. And the only thing you need to do is to type Golden Rosycross either on Facebook or on YouTube, and you'll have access for all the material that has been recorded. We also have, our face-to-face public conferences. In our Facebook page, you can have access to pages, with different languages, with different countries. The school is an international school present in more than 40 countries. So you can have access to it. As a reference, we have face-to-face public conferences in the East Coast, in Manhattan, every month. And the next one is going to be on March 12th. So you just need to reference back to our Facebook page to check that information and be able to attend if you want to do so. And also, if you want to read more about the school, you can check on our websites. In some languages, we have free literature. And also, if you want to acquire English, books in English of the school, you can go to the Amazon store and just type Golden Rosycross, and you'll find all the titles available there. Well, now let us try to address some questions that popped up during these last minutes. What can I do to raise my consciousness or my individual consciousness to a cosmic consciousness? Well, first of all, we need to understand that our prison is something much, deeper and structural than we can imagine in the first place. We tend to believe that we have gone through, the geocentric approach, and then we started to believe that the sun was the center of the universe. Now we know that we live, in a tiny corner of one of more than 200 billion galaxies, and so on. But in essence, despite of, the fantastic aspect of all this knowledge, our true state of life is based on a much, narrower and tighter state of consciousness that we call an egocentric state of consciousness. So in our lives, in our actions, in our reactions, in our attitude towards life, the true center of the universe is nothing bigger than our own ego. So the first battle that the human soul must go through is, the demolition, is the, fundamental transformation of all the egocentric aspects of our consciousness. So the first challenge, the true challenge, is to become aware that we are a part of the cosmos, a part of the universe, that our true being is not our ego or, this physical body or anything attached to it, like thoughts, feelings, and reactions, but we are inhabitants of a microcosm. And as Hermes Trismegistus already said in the past, as it is above, it is below. So the key to the cosmos, the key to the macrocosm, is not, going beyond ourselves with our own egos. It is demolishing the ego. It is transforming the true center of our lives so that it's not our ego anymore, but it is the true center of our microcosm. Because this universal particle, this, universal singularity that lies in the center of our microcosm is also and truly the center of the cosmos and the center of the microcosm. So we are already there. We are already inhabitants of a cell of the true universal macrocosm, but we are not aware of it. So the true task of a seeker of the truth, of a seeker of justice, of a seeker of beauty, is to go through the demolition of the only single barrier that prevents him or her to live in this, outstanding reality. And the barrier is the ego and the egocentric state of consciousness and of life. I hope to have addressed your question, and let's move to the next one. When we put in motion causes and consequences, is staging important? Is it crucial to manage the stage and reception of our actions? Well, self-knowledge is what is really important. If we were only aware of the true causes of the consequences that hit us in every single instant of our lives, we would be already partially free from those consequences, because we would have understood the causes in the first place. And what prevents us from this true self-knowledge is the image of knowledge, is the imperfect image of knowledge. It is the shadow that we project on reality with our identification process, with our ego. So our ego believes that it understands reality, that it understands the causes, the consequences of everything, but it is through its own individual, isolated standpoint. So what we lack in the first place is self-knowledge. Not, to become specialists of our ego, to understand every single small alley that it goes, by inside of ourselves, in our whole being, but to understand how structurally in a prison we are all the time. We don't see the world. We see the projection of our inner world outside of ourselves. We don't see reality. We don't see the others. For the human ego, in essence, and this is a bit odd to say, but the others actually don't exist. During the majority of the times, we interact with our own projections of people that we believe we know, but we actually don't. So it is through the acquisition, it is through this alchemical process that brings this true self-knowledge, this true new consciousness, that we can not break the cycle of cause and consequence, but we can understand why it has become a vindictive law. And then we can transform this law into a neutral, universal law once again, and then start to bring true balance to our lives, a true neutral, stable basis upon which we can build a totally different and new reality. So the next question. Fulfilling karma seems to need an awareness of the universal laws of balance. Where do we go? What teachings and texts can help us learn the way that karma operates? We talked about the universal teaching or the universal teachings. And here what we are trying to allude to is that in every main stream of a civilization impulse, be it in China, in India, in Persia, in Egypt, and the pre-Columbian America, and in Greece, in the medieval times in Europe, in North America, with the original indigenous peoples. In all those ancient cultures, we can find the same teaching. And the teaching is always to bring awareness to the inner eye of the human consciousness. This knowledge, this first-hand knowledge, certainly something that we can study through books and through the universal literature and the universal myths that we can find in all those civilizations. But in essence, when we address the question that way, despite of all the beauty, of the depth and the value that those teachings can bring us, we are still lacking the essence. We are still lacking the source of it, because of the source of all that knowledge is already inside of ourselves. We just need to rebuild the tool that can read that teaching, that first-hand knowledge. We just need to rediscover the means or the capacities to have access to that inner source. And it's not through the development of our egocentric consciousness. It is not through methods. It is not through training or exercises. By doing so, we would only build a higher wall between ourselves and that inner source. Some people say that the classic Rosicrucians, the Rosicrucians that lived in the 17th century during Renaissance, they said that a true Rosicrucian would need only two books: the book T and the book M. And they said that through the book T, they could interpret and have access to all the countless volumes of book M. What did they mean? They meant that through the connection of the human consciousness, the human soul, with the spirit spark in the heart, in the center of the microcosm, of the human microcosm, then the human consciousness, the human soul, can once again become the tool, the bridge, the connecting mechanism between our understanding and the true source of this knowledge that lies already inside of ourselves. And through this new consciousness, through this new awareness, it would connected to this spirit spark, so connected to the book Theos or Theon. It means the book of, symbolically speaking, God, right? Through this book that is already inside of us, we could read the countless volumes of book M, of Librum Mundi, or the book of the world, or the book of life, or life itself. So that is the true first-hand knowledge that is the objective of a true Rosicrucian, of a true pupil of a spiritual school, today, in the past, in the future, in any philosophical original current. This is also the meaning of the symbol of the spiritual school. We have already said that before in our previous virtual public conference, but we'd like to address it once more. The source of this knowledge is represented by that point in the very center of the circle. This represents the particle, the singularity, the spirit spark, the center of the whole universe that lies in every microcosm, in every atom, in any tiny little cell of the universe, because that center is omnipresent. And from that center, from the connection with that center, we can transform the human consciousness, the three centers of the human soul: the heart, the head, and the hands. And through the transformation of this triangle that is once again connected with the center of the universe that already lies in its microcosm, then human life can be transformed. And then the four vehicles of man, of the human being, can be transmuted, transfigured, as the modern spiritual school normally explains. The circle, of course, is the microcosm, but it's also the cosmos. It is the macrocosm. It is, the symbol that there are no barriers anymore between the inner reality that we can, intuitively see or, be touched by, and our true manifestation, our consciousness and our lives. It seems that we don't have more questions for tonight. So we would like to thank you for your attention, for your presence in this second virtual public conference of the Golden Rosycross, in this new series through Facebook and now through YouTube as well. So thank you for this opportunity tonight, and we would like to invite you for the next one that should be probably organized in the next month or so. You will also find information on Facebook and YouTube about the face-to-face conferences, and also about our literature that is available through our books. So thank you very much, and have a great evening. Goodbye.